All right. Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpit Queen, reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And just for an update, all the trees are down. All the trees that got hit by lightning, they've been falling for months. I finally went out and just broke my pocketbook and had them all cut down. I couldn't afford to have them hauled off, so I've got logs all the way around my house. Great big giant logs. So if anybody is in East Texas, needs some firewood, I've got pine and oak. So, but we're here tonight, and it's been quite a tumultuous time during COVID. We've had health issues, we've had, distancing, but this online book club has connected us all. In fact, Caitlin, I want to introduce you to Suzanne Kamada, who absolutely gets the gold star because she's coming in from Japan.
Oh,
She
you
comes
are?
almost to every meeting. She's had a class, so she hasn't been able to be here. But we've got Tracy Carnes, an author from Shreveport. Let's see who else jumped on board. Holler out. You can unmute for a second.
I know Lee.
Lee. Hi.
Dear Lee.
Oh,
Hi, Lee.
Lee. Hi, Lee. How are you?
Hi,
You
Kathy. I'm
recovered?
great.
Well, I am too now. So, and I think I saw somebody else jump on board. Who else?
Patty.
Patty Meredith. Hi, Patty. Great to have you here. So tonight we've got Caitlin Hamilton Summie here. And listen, we go back quite a ways. In fact, when Tawana and I went on our big uh, adventure to New Jersey to deliver a painting, Caitlin was so nice. Her and her family invited me to come and stay with them, but we didn't realize it was going to take us 2 weeks to get up there and 2 weeks to get back. So we didn't get to stay with Caitlin. But if I ever come through there again, I want to stop, at least have a cup of coffee or something to see you. But I want to tell everybody a little bit about you, because you're not just an author, you're an award-winning author, but you also have a wonderful company that is called Caitlin Hamilton Marketing and Publicity, and it was founded in 2003. Now, everybody can go to CaitlinHamiltonSummie.com to learn all about her. If you need a publicist, I highly recommend her. I don't recommend very many because there's so many out there that I just do not think they do a great job, but Caitlin does. But Caitlin earned her MFA with distinction from Colorado State University, and her short stories have been published in Beloit Fictional Journal, Wisconsin Review, Porto del Sol, JMMWW. What's that? What's JMWW?
It's an online literary journal. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Good. Well, Mud Season Review, Belmont Story Review, Harper Text Magazine, and more. Her story collection, To Lay to Rest Our Ghosts, won the 4th annual William H. McMath Book Award, silver in the Forward Indies Book of the Year Award for short stories, and was a Pulpwood Queen bonus book that won the bonus book of the year when she had her book Lay to Rest Our Ghosts. So this was the next book that's come up, Geographies of the Heart. And this is sad for me, because this book came to me in December. It came out in January of 2022. I already had voted, everybody voted, and we picked our books. So I've been hanging on to this for my Valentine gift to you, to make you a gift of having you be our featured author. It's a beautiful cover. I wore red to keep it with the Valentine spirit. But I want you first to tell us, Caitlin, a little bit about yourself, your backstory, and then we'll talk about your book.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm thrilled to be here. You know, I mean, I cried when I got your email. It meant the world to me, as you know. And I'm glad that you have all your trees taken care of. I just want to say,
everybody is. I tell you, everybody said, "You've got to move," and I go, "No, I'm not moving. Not moving." So
I know, I understand how it is, because we have a lot of trees around us too. I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a business owner. I'm a book publicist, and I'm a writer. And so I wear all my hats each day. And so some days, like today, when the computer is really slow and isn't working, it's all hands on deck. I'm blessed to have been in the industry for more than the 20 years I've been a book publicist. I've been around a long time, and while I've worked for some of the big houses, really my heart has stayed with the small presses, and I think that's what I'm best known for, is working with the small presses or the authors who are coming from even some of the mid-sized houses, um, and helping them to develop their platforms and find their way in an increasingly difficult and challenging marketplace. Um, when I came out with my short story collection in 2017, I think it surprised a lot of people. I don't think most people even knew I wrote. And so I think there was this general feeling of fear, because, when you know somebody, if you worked with them for 20 years, the last thing you want to do is find out that they write and you don't like their writing. So it wasn't just me who was afraid to publish the book. I'm sure it was many people like Kathy who were afraid to read it.
I'm not afraid to read my friends' books, not at all. I'm really
Well,
not.
you've been incredibly supportive, so thank you. And it was well received. And from that, sprang the novel Geographies of the Heart, which came out in January 22, because three of the stories in the collection became the heart of what was Geographies of the Heart. Um, of my novel, both of my books, excuse me, took me more than 25 years to write because I have what I call my happy interruptions, my two kids, and also my business. And I'm not able to set aside time to write. I'm not able to get up at 5 in the morning and be civil to everybody and get the kids off to school and pack lunches and then you write for a half hour and go to work. So I've been known to write as the neighborhood children fling open the front door and race down the front hall asking where the Gatorade is. Um, and that's my 5 minutes for that day. But aside from taking 25 years, I think the novels landed when they were supposed to, if that makes some kind of sense, because they've launched when my kids were old enough to appreciate what the journey was and how long the dreams took and what hard work and dedication those dreams took. And they were published when my parents were still alive to see it because they've been waiting for a long time. So all things when they're meant to be, I guess. So that's me. That's my introduction.
That's great. And and your husband is so helpful. He's always emailing me. I have to tell you, this impresses me. Rick wrote me a personal note when he sent me this book. And my favorite things are when people make it personal, because the Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club is a personal book club. We really want to have a conversation with the authors in person. And that's why I work really hard on trying to get everybody on board. So, and the online thing has really helped. It's getting harder and harder because time is just getting away from people and time has become very valuable. So I appreciate you being here tonight to talk about your book. And I'm really interested now that I'm painting book covers. Tell me about the book cover, first of all, because it's very catchy.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for being here and welcoming me. Is a story I love. I work with a very small press called Summie Press out of Burlington, Vermont. They're literary, and they're very welcoming and include their authors in the process. My editor Mark, once we survived the edit, which went really well, except for the fact that I had to rewrite my opening for 6 straight months. I think by the time I hit it, Mark and I were, just exhausted. That's another story. But we got through that, and Mark said, we need it. We need a cover. Do you have any ideas? And we sent some pictures back and forth, and we weren't really agreeing on the direction we wanted. So I decided to type into Google red blood cells because and veins, and because it's about geographies of the heart, and I didn't want a heart on it because it's not really, there's some sad things happen in the book. And so I found different images and I sent things to Mark, and this is the one they felt at the Fomite offices was the strongest image. That is actually a cluster of red blood cells. It's actually, I think, technically a blood clot, which would speak really well to my book, which is all about the heart and all about two sisters who can't quite forgive each other, like their hearts kind of clotted. Um, but everybody thinks it's a flower. And
Of
so
course,
every
I didn't recognize the flower. I thought somebody has made this up,
no,
but
that
that's fascinating. And see, that's important to me because first of all, you want a cover to jump out and make you want to pick it up. And then the fact that they're working with you as an author to do the right cover, it, back in my early book selling days, I used to get so frustrated with book covers because, I remember on one of Kimberly Willis Holt's books, uh, they had the girl had the wrong hair color pigtails on the cover. And I'm going, did anybody read the book? And so, and I thought, well, who better to do book covers than me? Because I've not only read the book, I work with the authors, I tell the story, and I'm working with Antonina Duranova right now and having a ball working on hers. Here comes Jeffrey Dale Lofton, another author. But I think it's important, and I agree with you. Small presses and indie publishers and things have taken on a whole different genre. So it's wonderful for you to hear from your perspective as a publicist. How, hard is it to get these books out there? Tell everybody a little bit about that because I can't stop, because if I stop, there's nobody that does what I do.
no, there
There's
is
nobody. Nobody.
nobody. No, there's nobody who does what you do. I do want to say that although I found the image, the credit for that cover and what was made of the image is entirely Donna Biscuit Fomite. I didn't design the cover. I found an image that was meaningful. Um, but it is to Donna's credit. How hard is it to get a book out there nowadays? I don't think it's ever been harder, and I've been in the business for more than 20 years. I think that marketplace is overcrowded, and I think that we've lost so much in terms of review space in newspapers. And I know everyone says,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
you know, online, it's everything's online." But one of the things I'm concerned about and see happening is that when we're online, we tend to fragment more into more and more niche groups.
Yeah.
And so we're not necessarily recapturing what the book sections in some of those newspapers did because we're not reaching people as widely. So I look at all this and I think, okay, this is the landscape. And I always love a challenge. So I think that a publicist's job has gotten harder, but I also think it's afforded a lot of opportunities to get more creative. And the way we work at our firm is that we require, that sounds so formal, we request that people send us their books. I get a lot of calls for, can we have a conversation? And I always say, well, we're book first in this firm, so can we see the book? And we read into it. We can't read the whole thing at that stage. We do, of course, before we come on, but we read into the book so we know what we're talking about and to make sure we're fit and to make sure we can get behind it and jump up and down. Because if you can't jump up and down, you should not take the book. And you've got to have a publicist who cares. You take that book, when it's a fit, and you sit down and you have this wonderful opportunity now, despite the challenges, to do more, to think more creatively, and to be outside the box. And I will say, yes, it's harder. It's never been as challenging. It's also um, I've never been more determined. I've never, in some ways, had more fun because I want to rewrite the rules anyway, you know?
Well,
So,
I've been breaking, rewriting, doing the rules ever since I can remember. But
yeah,
I absolutely, when I finally got to where I could read the book, this is quite a story, and I think it's fascinating that you spent so long working on it. I wrote online that I'm seeing a pattern. I'm hearing more and more authors like Anju Gatani took her 20 years to write her Winds of Fire series. I mean, and I'm seeing everybody thinks it's a young readers market, but the people that are really doing the best books are the ones that are, it's like their second or third career. And
mm,
interestingly, Jamie Ford was talking to him, and he said, we were talking movies when we had him on at the beginning of the month. And he said, what has happened is they had such a surge during COVID for watching Netflix that they were buying everything. And now they, that's over. Zoom just let 1,300 people go, because people aren't Zooming anymore. But the good thing about this is we're recording it and it's going to go up on the Pulpwood Queen channel forever. So that channel on YouTube, people can go to and you can share it. I'll send it to you. I'll put your website. I'm always looking for opportunities because, like you said, there's no more newspapers. There is nobody in Texas that I can call anymore that will do a story. And that is unheard of in my heyday, because every month I'd have 4 or 5 newspapers, magazines, television shows calling. And now who do you call? They've let everybody go. And the freelancers are so overworked that, there's a few. I think we got one story for Girlfriend Weekend this year in a newspaper. And that was in, because of Jeffrey. Jeffrey got us in, Jeffrey Dale Lofton got us in the Fernandina Beach, Amelia Island newspaper. But I don't even know who to send press releases to anymore. So you've got a challenge.
You've got to challenge, and you've got to be creative, and you've got to think that the creativity is fun. But to do all that as a publicist, you have to believe in what you've got. And this is why we always ask for the book first. We need to make sure that this is a book that fits our skills. I mean, there are lots of reasons to turn down books. You're too busy. I've turned down some books, quite frankly. I get a ton of memoirs, and I can't always take every memoir because some of them take so much emotional energy, and I have to parse that
They're so
out.
sad.
They're so sad. A lot of them, yeah. And then sometimes a book isn't a fit, or sometimes I've turned down books where I thought somebody else would do a better job because they have a market I don't normally work. Lots of reasons to turn down a book, but lots of reasons to take a book. When you get the right one, it's so exciting. And so then you do want to sit down and you do want to figure out what is the puzzle that's going to take this product to the readership it deserves. You have to have that kind of heart. You have to. And Lee Zacharias, I mean, I don't know, Lee's on the Zoom here, and she and I have worked together twice. And, we love Lee's stories. We love her prose. And, we want to just go shake trees to get people to pay attention.
I'm so glad Lee's here. It was so great seeing her at Girlfriend Weekend too. So thank you for coming, Lee. But let's get to the heart of the matter of this book. So where did the seed begin with this bloom?
The honest answer is I don't remember, because I probably have spent 27 years on the book. So what I believe is that it began with Sarah's voice. And I can tell you that the chapter called Cleaning House was the first piece I ever wrote from Sarah's point of view. And the reason the book is told in almost like a novel in stories is because I was writing stories about Sarah for so long, and then all of a sudden other characters were demanding stories. The challenge with this was to take decades of stories and create a novel, to write chapters. So where it began with Sarah, and I'm pretty sure the first time I wrote with Sarah was Cleaning House, when she was at that point going to her grandparents' nursing home. She had been summoned, literally, and was coming face to face with them, together with them, with the sad fact that there wasn't much time left.
Wow. Well, it's amazing. Now, was your major in college, did you get your degree in, was it in creative writing English? No?
No, my major in college was Middle Eastern history. And my favorite part of Middle Eastern history is the rise and spread of Islam. That was my first favorite subject. And my second favorite subject was the Ottoman Empire, which I find fascinating.
I love the Ottoman Empire. Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing in art history.
And
In fact, I actually went as dressed the part when I had to do my PowerPoint presentation, and everybody just goes, the professor loved it. She goes, I've never seen a student dress up for a presentation before. And I go, well, I'm into costumes.
I love that.
That's
That's awesome.
fascinating. I
That's
had no idea.
awesome. Yeah. When I graduated from college, my decision was I going to go for my PhD to the University of Cairo, or was I going to pursue publishing? And my father was an academic, and we had a short conversation about it. And he said, you're gonna have to publish. And I said, I think I'd be a really good teacher. I think I'd be a really good teacher, but I don't think I have the mind for original scholarship. And he said, then this is not the climate for you, because you're gonna have to publish. So I went to Random House. I took a job at Random House in New York City. And
Well,
I was at Random House when the Gulf War broke out, packaging press kits to help the publicist, because I was in editorial, and the Gulf War broke out. And then a day or two later, the head of that division came to me. He said, you majored in Middle Eastern history. I said, yes. He said, what should we be acquiring? So
oh, that is so cool.
I got to vote on one book as an
That is
editorial
so cool.
assistant. I got away from the typing.
It just goes to show you that the more diverse you are. I mean, some of the best lawyers were theater majors,
Mhm.
So that's fascinating. So did you meet your husband in college?
Didn't. I was well into life in my career when I met Rick, who is also a publicist. He works with me. He co-owns the business with me. He is my publicist, which makes him the kindest and most patient man alive. It's like,
Oh,
really, what doctor wants is a good patient. What publicist is a good, writer letting someone else do her publicity. But we didn't meet in college. No, we met many years later.
well, I absolutely. You tell him. If you can hear me, Rick, the personal note really meant a lot to me. I thank you so much. You've been very
I'll
kind.
tell him. He went downstairs so that he wouldn't be hovering.
Well, that is fascinating. And you were at Random House for how long?
I was at Random House for a year, and then I
Yeah.
left because I started counting the trees in my neighborhood. And I realized that I kept looking for trees and parks and green spaces. And so I left and I went to Odegaard Books, where I was an independent bookseller. And I did the events and I managed the history section. And I did a terrible job with biography because I could never decide if I should alphabetize by author name or by subject name. So biography as a section was always a mess. And I just went on from there, graduate school and whatnot. Yes.
So you've worked on many sides of the table, then.
Yeah, I've even done sales. I've when I was at McMurray and Beck, which is a small press that's
Yeah, I love McMurray and Beck. I
yeah,
know them very well.
I was their marketing director, their publicity director, and their sales director concurrently for nearly 2 years. So I sold to mom and pop shops, and I sat across the B&N buyer, and all that experience comes into play. All
Yeah.
that experience is so valuable when you're writing a release, when you're working on a tip sheet for a sales force, because I've sat in the hot seat. I've had to sell my books to booksellers.
It's
And
harder to sell your own than other people's. I would much rather sell other people's books.
I never had to
It's
sell my own.
fun.
Yeah, it's hard selling other people's too. You
I'll sell
have
it for you, hon. I'll
you
sell it
please,
for you.
yeah.
I'm going to be pushing it. So this is, every time I do an event with an author, whether it's a girlfriend weekend or on Zoom or even conversations on our blog, I always learn new things. So I had a young woman email me today and said, I'm retiring. I want to become a writer. Where do I start? I go, where do you start? You start reading first, right? Because to me, everybody goes, will you pick my book? And I go, well, I have to read it. You mean I have to send you a copy? I go, well, if you want me to pick your book, yes. And they go, can you send it back? And I go, no. Because I really get literally over 1,000 books, and I will tell everybody, I get so many wonderful books, but here's what I have to do. We're around the world now. So we have to pick books that are going to resonate any country, anywhere in the world, and in different parts of the US and different parts of the world. So I have to mix it up. And I also have to pick both female and men authors because so many people go, well, you're a woman Southern Book Club. No, we're not. We are an international author and we read all genres, everything. I picked science fiction. I picked everything except erotica. I'm not doing that. But Caitlin, your book is fascinating. So when you write a book such as this, were you writing it to resolve some issues or you wanted to address something? What was the call to write this book?
It's interesting that you asked that, because I think that, like a lot of writers, I really begin when I hear a line or a voice. And another reason I'm so slow is that I don't plot. I go where I'm led. And I think because the book is about multi-generational families grappling with change and loss, I think a lot of people read it as my story. I think a couple of people on Goodreads have actually said this reads like a memoir, which I take as a compliment, but it
Yeah.
isn't. I mean, it isn't memoir, not that it isn't a compliment.
Right.
I mean, I did grow up in a multi-generational house, but I don't have a sister. And a lot of what's happened in the book has never happened to my family. But I think when you grow up with a multi-generational family, loss is ever present. Health issues are ever present. Grief is sort of the shadow stalking the corners. And so, I think all that's true. So I think what I try to, the way I try to articulate it is that I'm writing from an emotional truth. It's not factual. It's a novel, it's fiction. But emotionally, sure, I was a kid with way older grandparents, and you do worry. And it's awfully hard to say goodbye. And then the in between of knowing how to manage medications or different things, or it's hard. But the novel is about more than the grandparents. It's also about growing up and sisters and becoming mothers. But I think the emotional truths are, I think they're what matter, and I think they're what drive this book. Those senses of the importance of family history, the importance of family bonds, the importance of honoring one another's best, and trying, obviously, in this book, not to always notice each other's worst.
Yeah. It's interesting family dynamics because everybody thinks that they've always got it the worst. And then
Yeah.
I'll read a story and I'll go, "Oh, no, you know, I, first book came to mind was The Kite Runner. I was just
Mm.
like, oh my, that was just blew me away. Or Memoirs of a Geisha, or there's books that you just they never quite leave um, your. And we have so many Pulpwood Queen books. I mean, people go, "What's your favorite book?" And I go, "All of them." I go, "I wouldn't pick them, and you wouldn't probably represent these people if you didn't love their writing."
Mhm.
So thank you for sending you. Did you just sent me a new book
Mhm.
from what was the latest one you just sent me?
I just sent you a novel. It's a debut novel called Toward the Corner of Mercy and Peace by
Yes,
Tracy D.
yes, I've got it
Buchanan.
right behind me. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really ahead of the game this year. I've been really reading. I have set up a routine this year that so that I get every check done. And the last thing I do of the day is I read when I go to bed, and I sometimes read all night. If I get
Wow.
a really good book, The Henna Artist. I don't know if you know
I
author.
haven't read it, but yes.
Oh, she's got The Perfumist of Paris coming out. It's a 3 book
Oh.
series. Man, just love her writing. But all these books that are coming to me, they really speak to me. And I always tell everybody that when I pick a book that's 5 diamonds in the Pulpwood Queen tiara, because that's my highest mark. My favorite book is To Kill a Mockingbird. So you know, if you can stand up and people go, "Well, you pick a lot of light reading." And I go, "Oh my goodness, yes." I'm thinking about one of the Brother Mockingbird books that I picked this year, Haley and the Hot Flashes. That book was so funny to me, that it's harder to make people laugh in a book than it is to make them cry. So, but
Mhm.
as far as your book goes, during COVID, how have you been able to get out and promote this book?
Well, it came out sort of January of last year was a little bit easier, but we were still hit with we couldn't do in-person events. We were just virtual. And so like anyone published in 2020, 2021, we didn't get to do as much as we'd hoped. And so we just did our best, and there were a number of things we did for the first book that Rick was not able to set up for the second. Um, so it took a hit, and it's just what happened to everybody in that group. I mean, it, it, it is what it is. So we just keep promoting in the ways we can, um, and just be grateful, honestly, for what we were able to do. As a
Well,
publicist,
I
we
often think
didn't.
about Doug Marlette. He was one of my dearest author friends. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning political cartoonist, and his book came out the day of 9/11.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
that's not good.
No.
So, the one thing about a book, I don't care when you read it, when you wrote it. It doesn't matter to me because to me, if you tell a good story, it's timeless. So, Geographies of the Heart is a brand new book to all of you listening today. You've got to buy it. Where's the best place they can get the book?
Shop.org.
Okay, good. We've got Main Street Reads is sells all the Pulp and Queen books because they run a chapter there, and so they're out of just out of Charleston, South Carolina, and Somerville. So Main Street Reads, we've got a website up on our. I'm trying to get her to send me a direct link so you can go to Main Street Reads to order. But we try to support the independents because I was an independent bookseller for many, many years, and it's getting harder and harder. But I want to start opening it up for conversation with everybody here. I see
Sure.
that Jeffrey, you made it after all. So at the end, don't run off. I want to introduce you to everybody. There's two Jeffreys here, I believe, right? I can't see you, but
Yeah.
hang in there. But I want you to unmute. Hi, Jeffrey. Do you have a comment or a question for Caitlin, Jeffrey?
Which one?
Well, since I can see Jeffrey Dale Lofton in front of me, I'll say you, Jeffrey.
Okay. Well, I do have a question. You mentioned that you don't plot. I wonder why you don't plot.
Nobody's ever asked me that, and that's
Oh,
a really, really interesting question. I think it's twofold. I think that I'm just trying to hear the characters a little bit and follow their lead and get a sense of them. But I think also that I don't trust not having that voice. I feel like I'm forcing it otherwise because my process is intuitive. I will say, and I should probably clarify, at a certain point you have to think it through. You can't just feel your way through. And so, especially because I was trying to pull stories into chapters, there were points where I sat down and definitely thought, does this work? My books don't necessarily follow the traditional arc. They're a little bit flatter because what I'm so interested in is the interior lives of characters. And my character, I joke that the biggest thing that happens in my books, Jeffrey, is that people forgive each other. But when people have been stewing and grudge holding, sometimes unlocking that forgiveness can be very, very powerful. So at a certain point, I did have to sit down and say, is this the moment where she would turn a corner? Is this the moment where she would allow her sister to speak, to have her say? For a long time, I'm just going through. I'm just feeling the way, especially with one of my characters named Glennie, who is a very driven doctor, and not very emotional. And I just needed to sit and listen to how she might speak rather than try and force her into certain actions. I didn't want her to be a type. That's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a bit of a pantser myself and more than a plotter. So it's a pleasure to meet another one. It's a delight.
Thank you. Yes, it is. I would say, and I really believe this. I would trust your process. It is really hard when you're seeing all your buddies publish right and left, and somebody wins an award and somebody's going to Parnassus Books. It's really hard to follow your path if it's slightly different. And I think it can be sometimes harder and a more difficult process for pantsers. But in the end, and thanks to Mark at Summie, I got to tell the story I wanted to tell in the way I wanted to tell it. And so if you ever need a cheer, I'm really good at writing cheers. But trust your process. It will pay off.
Thank you. That's lovely. Thank you.
Anybody else want to pipe in?
I do.
Yeah, Tracy.
I too am a pantser.
Yes, let's have a club.
Yay! And
Pantsers.
and the book that I read, and I'm gonna go buy your book right now because I have not read it. It just sounds wonderful. And what I wrote, I had to actually follow basically a program because my book takes place over the course of a film festival. So every day has to have something happen. But at the same time, I still listened to my characters and I wondered, my characters talk to me like when I drive along, if I'm working around the house. So I wondered, how do your characters talk to you? When are you listening to your characters talk to you so that you can get their voice and their character and then go about, putting pen to paper?
I think that's fascinating that your characters talk to you when you drive. And as a publicist, I would recommend you write that as a and submit it someplace because I think it's fascinating, and it would be fun. Generally, my characters don't talk to me like that. Generally, I'll hear that line and I'll doing and I'll sit and write, and that's when I sort of feel my way forward. I will say, I don't know if I'm going to articulate this very well, that when I'm writing, I know when I'm wrong. So I hear most often when I'm wrong. So I thought I had the ending of my novel 3 different times. And I realized, no, that wasn't right. And the second time, no, it wasn't right. And I will say I was really heading for the barn at that point. We were on year 26. I had a publisher, I was writing. And when I hit the last 3 lines of my book, I knew. I was like, we're done. We stop here. This is our ending.
Oh wow,
So
That's really cool.
I'm excited to read it, and I'm gonna go.
you.
I'm gonna go put it in my book queue, and hopefully I'll get it by the weekend and I can read it.
Thank you. I appreciate your support. It's
And I also want to talk to you. I'm going to give you a call, maybe tomorrow. Can I find your information online because I am shopping for publicists?
Sure. We are the best website for the company is CaitlinHamiltonMarketing.com. The easiest way to find me is Caitlin at CaitlinHamiltonMarketing.com, which is a really big mouthful. I should have named the company something else. At the time I named it, I felt my name was the brand,
Yes.
and there are a lot of PR firms that have, book or page related things in them. I thought I might get lost. So it is Caitlin at CaitlinHamiltonMarketing.com.
Okay, well, I'm gonna look you up. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Caitlin, did you have any surprises from some of your characters? As if you're listening to these voices, did you have anything take you where you never thought you were going to go when you were writing your book?
No, I don't think so, which is, I know, not the fun answer, but it is the honest one. I don't think that there was
No.
anything that really surprised me. I do think, there are times when Sarah, the main character, is a little bitter, or a lot bitter. And one of the things I realized, I did a character interview with her for Women Writers, Women's Books, and I realized something then, which one of the things that surprised me was we talked about, why did you get so bitter? And how did you pull yourself out of it? Because her pulling herself out of it is really what interested me. And what I thought what she had to say was interesting, because then suddenly she was more than a character. She was this person. But the thing she said that really, really surprised me in the interview was who she was admired, because this woman from this long line of women, very opinionated, powerful women, listed only men. And I asked her, I said, why are you just listing the men you admire? And she said, because they had survived more. One had survived World War II, one had survived bullying as a child, one had. So that faux interview I thought was really interesting, at least for me.
Sure. Well, that's fascinating. Anybody else have a question or comment?
Yeah, this is more of a comment or an observation than a question, but I'd really be interested to hear Caitlin talk about it. Sarah is a person who likes order. She wants an orderly family history. She wants people to behave the way they're supposed to behave. She wants things to happen the way they're supposed to happen. Glennie, the unemotional one, as you describe her, is a doctor. She's not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. She's a medical doctor, but by profession, she deals with people who have disorders. And I wonder if you have anything to say about that.
I do.
thing,
Yes, I do.
sort of dichotomy.
Yeah, I think that one of the things was, this was sort of a discovery, Kathy. One of the things that I found about the sisters that proved to be an important turning point for them was they want control. One of the family narrative, one of her career. They are, though, so exacting. They can be difficult for others sometimes. And that's in part why they clash. And I think it's and one sister also has an eating disorder. Her Glennie, the doctor, they got through medical school because of her eating disorders. These women are very much about control, and I think when they let go of control is when some of the most important things happen for that family.
You guys are in for a treat. You've got to read it. Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah.
Feel free. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I made it back.
Yay.
I went to see William Kent Kruger an hour north from us.
Wow.
And fortunately, we were first in line for the book signings and got home. And I'm glad I did, because this book is wonderful. And I had an observation, and then a couple of observations and a question. The first observation is, you've got a sentence in here that I love. It starts, "The night our grandfather died was a night without stars." And then it goes on to say, "The snow falling in endless repeat, first veiling the moon, the constellations, then the sharp edges of the buildings, our whole world." I just love that.
Thank you.
The other observation is, I'm kind of blown away you don't have any sisters, because the relationship between Sarah and Glennie seems like such a real relationship. They just, I don't know, I've seen it before.
Oh,
And,
good.
and so I'm shocked to hear you say that. So that's a credit to your imagination, and then and probably
Thank you.
observation as well. The third thing, and this may sound a little weird, but honestly, I didn't get why Sarah liked Al at all. The first few chapters, I didn't really like this guy. And then when I read his first story that he narrates, I really got his voice. I got him. And I just was curious how where you got his voice, if I may ask.
I don't know. I think Al is just a gift, you know. I think that what drew Sarah to him was that on their first date, which is the opening of the book, he wasn't posing. He wasn't trying to be something other than himself. A PhD candidate trying to finish his thesis, not always loving teaching. I think the answer you're supposed to give probably often as a teacher is that you feel called to do it. Al wasn't feeling called. So I think that was what drew her to him, was that he was honest. Where he came from, I don't know, but I'm really glad he was there, because one person in the course of dealing with this book suggested that I cut Al, and I called my mother and I said, could you imagine a whole book of just Glennie and Sarah? Would you survive? And my mother said, no. She said, stick with your vision. And I had to have him. He was the common sense, get over yourselves, I love you both voice. But he also had to kind of get out of his own way to do that. And I love that about Al too. The guy who was always making other people happy finally had to step up and make himself happy.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Well, thank you for reading the book. Thank you.
It's really great. Thank you, Jeffrey, for reading that. And while Jeffrey's here, I'm just going to go ahead and do this so I don't forget. Jeffrey is going to be my new co-host for Girlfriend Weekend for 2024.
Which Jeffrey?
There's two Jeffreys. There's Jeffrey Dale Lofton, who was there last year, as well as Jeffrey Lawrence Matthews, who you just spoke to. And Jeffrey Lawrence Matthews is from Naples, Florida, and he is going to be my co-host next year. So everybody, I wanted you to see his face and recognize him, and we're really excited. He has a wonderful book out. It's the craziest story. I like books that you don't expect, and this was one I did not. It's a combination of Abraham Lincoln also, in conjunction with Sherlock Holmes. But my favorite part about the whole thing was what you said at Girlfriend Weekend is people think Sherlock Holmes was real. and I just think that's hilarious. So anyway, but
I think people do think Sherlock Holmes was real.
Yes, well, he's
that was the whole key to the tone of the book. When I figured out, oh, people think he's a real guy, I can put him into history. That was the whole.
It's a fascinating read.
Okay, what is the title?
It's called One Must Tell the Bees.
Oh, that's a great title.
It's a great book. You've got to read it.
Because you do have to tell bees things. You have to tell them when people are leaving, right?
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
His talk was really great at Girlfriend Weekend, and so
I second that. It was great.
Thank you. And but
the one thing about the Pulpit Queens and Timber Guys, we support each other. Thank you, Jeffrey. That's really nice that you read her book before you came.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
So if you ever need a publicist, you guys probably should talk. Oh gosh. So congratulations, Jeffrey. We're really excited. I'm still working on the venue. Trying to get people to calling me back is like,
Kathy, Kathy, they had a, I was thinking about that. They had the Amelia Island book they have a book fair.
Oh.
And this was the weekend. And it's
Yeah,
the
but
whole,
I've been trying to get a hold of them since Girlfriend Weekend. So,
oh,
you know,
okay. All right.
yeah, maybe people stayed there, but
Good
I've
luck.
left 7 messages. So we'll just keep
Okay.
trying. But I've got several things in the loop. So
Okay.
I will let everybody know the location as soon as the contract is signed. It'll be a fun place. And Jeffrey is going to be my co host. So you've got to come, everybody. And before I forget anything else, I had something very special that was a Valentine to me and to all of you. Um, uh, let's see, I can't remember what year it was, but Jay Shetty is one of my favorite podcasters. He's from India. He was a monk and he's now a #1 New York Times bestselling author. But he wrote Think Like a Monk, and it's the most fascinating book. But he just came out with a new one, and he sent me 2 cases of his latest book. And Jeffrey's going to get
Wow.
one being my co-host, and it's called 8 Rules of Love. How to find it, keep it, and let it go. I read it in one night, and I keep going back and reading it. Jay Shetty is the bomb. And I have 2 cases. So for everybody who signs up now while supplies last, will get at Girlfriend Weekend this book, and it's going to be our international February choice of book to read. I won't be able to get Jay Shetty there. I've tried and tried, but he makes like 6 or 7 figures now for speaking engagements. But the fact that he sent us 300 books for Think Like a Monk to give out at Girlfriend Weekend. And now they just sent me 2 more cases. So Simon and Schuster, I love you. You've been supporting the Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys for years, sending us galleys, sending us books. And I'll tell you, the book club reads them. So if you want a copy of this, and it's about, a tax $30 book, you'll get it with your check-in. So sign up today at www.thepulpwoodqueens.com. So Caitlin,
Yes, ma'am.
if you were, in the best case scenario, what would you like to see happen from Geographies of the Heart? I mean, this to me, all my books play out like visual feasts. I'm a real film person. So I always play them out like really like a movie in my head. And my best ideas come when I dream. Almost all my paintings come from people I've never seen before show up in my dream. And I know exactly what a book character. And then that's why I painted Rakesh, which was Andrew Gattani's book character, because he came to me in a dream. I knew exactly. And then when I sent her the photo, she goes, "How did you do that?" And I go, "I don't know." I think it's a God thing. So what would you like to have happen besides everybody that's watching this on our YouTube channel and here tonight rushing out to buy this book? What would you like to see happen, or what can we do to help you?
I think what I'd really like to do is talk about the book. I mean, I am
Okay.
really hoping that some book clubs will schedule me. I think it's been great to hear what Jeffrey thought. I love the chance to just answer. I mean, I love the question of, what did she see in him, and having a chance to discuss the book. I do think we're all dealing still with lots of issues coming out of the pandemic, and so being able to speak to people in person would be lovely, but I'm open to Zooms too. And I think, I always say that this is a novel about, that early, fertile, fragile terrain. Our first terrain is our families.
Absolutely.
Families are our first geography. And so I'd love the chance to talk with people because, I've spent 27 years on the book, and I'm glad you think they're real, Jeffrey, because they're very real to me. Indeed, one of the guest posts I wrote was about saying goodbye to them, because I've written about these people literally for half of my life. So they're on
So
their way.
when I put this post out there, can I say if any of the Pulpwood Queen book clubs would like to Zoom, please contact, do you want me to
Caitlin.
just give the website, or?
There's Caitlin at Caitlin Hamilton Marketing, because I'm always on that email.
Okay,
Even
I'll do that.
even
I'll do
late at
that
night.
because
Yeah.
I get book clubs call me all the time and I go, well, I hate to ask authors because they came on Tuesday, they've been blogging all week,
Oh, I'd love to
you
do
know.
it. And if they're in the South, then I can get there. You know, if they're in,
Oh,
you know,
perfect. Are you
Knoxville,
going to
Nashville.
any book festivals coming up in the South?
Most of the ones that I know about, they're Southern, you know, I'm not going to Georgia I think there's one in Georgia this spring, but a lot of the
Decatur?
ones, I think Decatur's the fall. I'll have to
Yeah.
check, but in the fall. So I'm not planning to hit any this spring, but if people are nearby, if they're in Asheville, Nashville, I can go in person.
Oh, great. Well, I'm going to put that out there. At least you
Thank
can
you.
Zoom.
Yes, I
Oh,
can
no,
always do.
you know, I, I think so many times authors are afraid to ask, you know, for help, and
Mhm.
we're our own worst enemy in a way. You run a publicity company, but you don't want to ask. And so I say, what can we do to help you?
I would
Let's
love
review your
meetings.
book. Let's
Yeah.
do, even though I'm banned from reviewing any books on Amazon or anything, they won't let me. I don't know why. But I do try to, you can share everyday authors on the official International Public Queens and Timber Guys Book Club. You make a post, tag me, and I'll approve it every day on that site. The Public Queen Presents blog page is reserved just for really our authors and breaking news. So of the week, but the official page, that's part of the benefits of being a book club, because you can post on there every day, and some people take advantage of it. And some people go, well, you know, I don't have time to do that. And I go, well, you know, I've got thousands of authors now, and it's
Nice.
really hard for me. I could spend 16 hours a day like I did last year, and I can't do it this year because it's time to get serious about paying for these trees and all this stuff. So I've got to get my book done and these book covers done. So, but anything I can do to help you, email me. If you want me to
Thank
do
you.
a book launch, if you want me to, you know, do a special something, I'm willing to do it because I love my authors and my readers so much. I really want to be supportive. I was telling Tracy at the beginning of this that when I first started the Pulpit Queens, I had about 12 chapters in the Arklatext, and I used to take my authors to all the chapter book club meetings, whether they're a country club, a bookstore. I'd take them to NPR, I'd get them on the news, you know, and I did that on my own dime. And now I think back on it and I go, how did I do that? Well, I had a business that helped me pay for it, you know, but I don't have that anymore. So it's, you know, it's a little tougher for all of us. So if we all join hands
Mhm.
and we all work together promoting each other, if you have a special book, you know, send me a personal note, send me your book. It's all up on Authors Join Here. Get me your books, the sooner the better, because as soon as I pick one, I put it in that stack, and I won't announce them till the end of the year because I made a mistake of doing it early one year, and everybody drove me crazy. When can I announce it? When can I announce it? I go, girlfriend weekend. So anyway, that's enough about me. Anything else you want to share before we go tonight? Any more comments, anybody?
I just wanted to say that Al came to life for me when he met the grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, because I just loved that scene so much because Sarah was nervous and I could feel her being nervous about it and everything. And then when they, you know, they made that joke about, oh, I think I saw a snake today or something. I really love that. And I want to second what Jeffrey said about sisters. I mean, you nailed it.
No, thank
You
you.
really did. And
Do
I'm
you
glad.
have siblings? Do you have siblings?
I have an older brother, with whom I'm very close. I admire him a great deal, but he's always had my back. So there's never been anything there that was adversarial. But thank you, Patty. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I really
Patty.
appreciate that.
I'm glad you landed on the ending you did because I really loved that too.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, so much fun. And this is so nice. I love being with y'all.
Well,
I
we
think
love
it's just
having you
nice.
here. And I tell people, and especially the authors, the more you participate, the more votes you get at the end of the year when we vote for books of the year. Because what do you have to say about that, Suzanne Kamada? Are you still there?
I'm here. Yes, I can attest to that. So I had
Yes.
a quick question
Mhm.
for Caitlin. Did Kathy say that you live in Spartanburg, South Carolina?
No, I live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
I mean, Knoxville. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay,
I said
okay.
Yeah.
Spartanburg. I went through
Okay.
there. Yeah, you're in
Yeah.
Knoxville.
I'm in Knoxville, and so we were hoping Kathy would stop by because she was going that direction. And I tried. I said we have the Smoky Mountains. We can go to Dollywood. But she
I'm
already had
gonna
her
go to
plans.
Dollywood. Let's go. I'll be up
Oh,
there.
yeah. When you come visit, we'll go to the Smokies. We'll go to Dollywood. I can't do certain rides anymore. I can't do
I
the
can't either.
but I can do like the tea.
Well, Kathy, she ought to come with us to Southern Festival of the Book next year or this year.
That's right. We're
I'm
gonna be
hoping
back to
I'm gonna be. Are
Nashville.
you
We're
guys
gonna
all
drive back.
going?
We should get together and do that.
Are you
I've been invited back by Joel, who owns the bookstore in Franklin. He has a huge booth and he's invited me and my authors to come. And I'm hoping that Serenity will have me back to do a Pulpwood Queen Presents. I'm hoping that once the world opens up more, I can get back out and do that. I've been, to Bookmarks and Tennessee Williams and Decatur and all these book festivals. I did the Pulpwood Queen Presents, and then I'd moderate my authors. So I was hoping that would happen at the National Festival for the Book, Jeffrey Dale Lofton, but Clay told me that they don't do book clubs. So I go, well, I'm an author too. So anyway, I hope when it opens back up, and hopefully I'll have a new book out next year too. So you guys, we've just got to all work together, hold hands, and support each other. And I know it's been tough, Caitlin, and I'm glad everything's going well.
Thank
And
you.
let's see if we see a little surge in Geographies of the Heart, okay?
Yes, thank you, Kathy. We had some. I think Kathy might be referring a little bit to some. 2022 was a hard year, so she's been very supportive and very kind to the family. So thank you, and thank you for the support of your book. And if you girls and guys are in Nashville, definitely let me know because we're hoping to come back.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
It's always in October, so
yes.
I'll put you on that list because we had a really good time there last year, and we
really
got
did. It was
invited.
so much fun.
It was-
I
love
didn't
landmark books.
know.
They're
I did.
amazing.
Yeah.
Lang Martin is in Nashville, Kathy.
Who?
Lang Martin Jr.
He is.
Know. We
I
need to get him
could
back
do
to
with Lang.
Girlfriend Weekend.
Yeah.
Is he working on another book?
I don't think so.
Not
think
that
so.
we've heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Lang, and
You-
his wife is lovely. We had so much fun when they came. And, it's the connections, because I met him because of,
Me and Rick.
yeah, I've
Oh,
met.
is that how it
I
happened?
meet people through, and then you were referenced to me from Lang, right, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing, the connections, but that's what it. Oprah has a astrologist that's supposed to be the best, and she puts in her magazine. She just put out this week this big story. It was in the Washington Post or Wall Street Journal. But anyway, she said that this year. She kind of predicted the 2020 COVID thing, that something devastating was going to happen. But she said this year is all about making connections, joining groups, working together, supporting other people, which is what I've been saying all along. Let's hold hands. We do it at the end of every Girlfriend Weekend now. And now that we can hold hands, without gloves and masks and everything. But it really is important because, you cannot argue with somebody if you're holding their hand.
Mhm.
I used to make my girls, they're 4 years apart, and the older one was always hitting the younger one on the head. And I'd make them sit on the couch, hold hands until you hold your hand. And the next thing you know, they'd be laughing because you know, it's a very intimate thing holding somebody's hand. So let's hold hands. Let's keep going. Let's support Caitlin. Let's support her publicity company. And let's all read Geographies of the Heart, everybody. So thank you for joining me. Tell your family I love them and for all the tech support. And I really do want to go to Dollywood because Dolly is the bomb.
Well, thank you for all your support. Thank you guys all for coming and for supporting. And I look forward to supporting you as well. I believe it's all of us banding together. And yes, I think that if people are going to be in Nashville, that it's just up the road to go to the Smokies or to go to Dollywood, and why not?
Sounds like, how far are you from Nashville?
About 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on the
Oh,
traffic.
well, maybe.
Yeah. The hardest part is now navigating Nashville traffic. Jeffrey, are
Oh.
you in Nashville? It's really gotten very big and yeah.
Tawana and I got stuck on the freeway for 2.5 hours because of a wreck. And we were running on empty. And I was going, I have to go to the bathroom. We don't have any gas. We're going to run out of gas. I have to go to the bathroom. What are we going to do? And I said, I'm going to take a picture of this mile marker in case I have to call a tow truck. I took a picture with my camera of the mile marker. Just Tawana took it and she handed it to me and she goes, look. I go, what? She goes, look at this picture. There was no mile marker in it. So she took another picture of it. Everything's there, but the mile marker did not show up in the picture, and she took 3.
Wow.
It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
So
I thought you were going to say something else. That's very creepy.
It was very creepy.
Guys,
And so what I did is I got over on the right-hand lane and I drove 1/4 mile into a gas station on fumes because I go, they're going to arrest me, but I'm not going to wet my pants. And so, but we were late to a luncheon in Nashville, and that whole trip was a gift, of Tawana's company. And I'm sorry we didn't get to stop in Knoxville, but we will next time. So
Next
I'll
time.
be in touch. We'll
Okay.
see you tomorrow morning for the blog. Everybody, any questions, go to the blog. The Pulpwood Queen presents her picks on Facebook and join, because then when it's your turn, you'll all be ready to know what to do and stuff. So thank you, Caitlin. Have
Thank
a
you,
wonderful
guys.
night.
You
Pray
too.
for
Thank
you
you.
and all of yours. And we'll see you all next week. Okay, everybody?
Thank you so much, everybody. Be well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
thank you,
Bye-bye.
Caitlin.
See you
Thank you,
next time, everybody.
Kathy.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Bye-bye.